What's good, nerds? How are y'all doing today? I don't know why this always gets on my hand every time I open this thing. This floor is going to smell like a bar mat. It is I. I am your close personal friend, the Bishop of Bull Moose. Sometimes I just go by Jay. And welcome to the channel. Thanks for clicking the button. Thought I'd start this week off with a little entry in my journal. I know some weirdos pronounce it journal. You know, my little diary of movies that I've watched last week. I thought it might be more fun than entering this shit on Letterboxd or whatever. I still don't know how to use that app. I'm a boomer, at heart at least. I figured I would tell you guys about the shit I watched last week, and maybe you guys would get a kick out of that type of thing. I don't really have the time to do reviews on each of these individual titles as much as I would like to. So I think talking about what I've watched over the past week and the previous week will give me an opportunity to kind of do small, kind of mini reviews of some of these films that I'm watching. So the first movie I watched last week was The Nice Guys. I watched this one with my mom. She was in town for a visit. My oldest daughter had a birthday, and Grand Jan came around to help celebrate that. I asked her if she'd ever seen The Nice Guys. I was shocked to learn that she'd never seen it. It had been a while since I had seen it as well. In fact, I kind of forgot that this one revolved around the porn industry as much as it did, and there was like a lot of boobies in The Nice Guys. There was a lot of nudity, although none of it was really that uncomfortable. Like, I sort of feel like if it's just a lady without clothes on, it's her like bare breasts and her buttocks. It's like, I don't know, you could see that in the Louvre. If I went to the Louvre to look at paintings, you would see Botticelli's and all sort of other, you know, Renaissance and later paintings where they got tits out. And as far as I'm concerned, that's not really that weird. It wouldn't be that weird to go with your mom. I would go with my mom to go to the Louvre and look at paintings, and I'm sure that would involve some nudity. So it really didn't bother me that The Nice Guys had a lot of nudity, even though my buddy Matt was like, "Dude, you watched that with your mom?" I was like, "Yeah, man, it's all good." He's like, "What are you gonna watch with her next? Eyes Wide Shut?" I was like, "I would watch Eyes Wide Shut with my mom." I don't know. There's just something about our family, maybe, and it's just like a human body. I mean, if somebody getting like bent over and railed, like I'm not sure I would watch Last Tango in Paris with my mom, right? But I would watch The Nice Guys. I did watch The Nice Guys with my mom. Next time she's around, I got Last Tango in Paris right back there. Next time she's around, I'll ask her if she wants to watch Marlon Brando lube up with some butter and go deep dick in the anal. That's exactly how I'll phrase it to Grand Jan as well. She said she would do shrooms with me, by the way, guys. So maybe that's the night. We do shrooms and we watch wicked uncomfortable movies that make The Nice Guys feel like K-pop demon hunters, which I also watched this week, thanks to having two daughters. I've seen that movie 15 times since it premiered. Now, I think The Nice Guys was right up Grand Jan's alley. I like it a lot, too. It's a fun movie, I think. It's just a good time. I mean, Shane Black, I think, always makes kind of fun, easygoing movies. Maybe not the type of films that stick with you, you know, that feel like a piece of art that's sort of like a heavier, but that's fine. I don't like heavy stuff all the time. I don't like sad music. I don't like sad movies. I want to enjoy my downtime and my entertainment time, and I think The Nice Guys definitely delivers that. And I do think that the balance of the comedy, the comedic elements, along with the, you know, the stakes not being crazy high and just the characters being kind of well done. The chemistry between Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe was good. I think Grand Jan enjoyed the fact that those were two very recognizable stars. I mean, she knows very well who Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe are. So she enjoyed it. I enjoyed that she enjoyed it. And I also enjoyed that it wasn't that weird, that there were a lot of tits out in that movie, actually. But, okay, Grand Jan and I were a few beers deep when we watched The Nice Guys. So, yes, I had some beers in, right? I had some alcohol on board. But at the same time, I feel like I got to Google the plot of this movie to get somebody to explain it to me. I feel like I missed some of the nuance, and that might be on me. What I'm saying is not necessarily a valid criticism of this film, but it might be a criticism of this film that I'm like, I don't really know what was going on in this movie. It was fun, but I couldn't tell you about like details of the plot. And I know Grand Jan couldn't either, because she was like, why were they all about that? Yeah, she'd had 3 IPAs. They were 7% each, and also she weighs like $125, so it is what it is. Now, I don't have the second sight 4K of The Nice Guys. I'm a little sad, a little jelly. I'm mad jelly of you fuckers who do, right? But I'm trying to be a better Buddhist. beer and drugs aside, and buy less shit in general. I'm trying to reduce my materialism a little bit, but I do have the Blu-ray. Look, I got the Blu-ray. It's got a nice slip cover and everything. See that? Nice little slip cover. So don't feel bad for me, okay? I got a nice little Blu-ray of The Nice Guys, right? Look at that, handsome faces. So I'm gonna be okay, guys. I don't have the 4K, but I thought about it. Chase almost got me. The next movie I watched after The Nice Guys was one my wife actually vetoed for Grand Jan. I was gonna show this one to Grand Jan instead of The Nice Guys, but my wife was like, no, 40-year-old virgin is too sexual. Don't show her 40-year-old virgin because it would make all of us feel uncomfortable. My wife fell asleep and didn't watch The Nice Guys with us anyway. And watching The Nice Guys, it was like, oh, there's a lot of tits and porn in this one. So I don't know how this is worse than the 40-year-old virgin. Although 40-year-old virgin does have a pretty good bit of titties. I always forget that there's like titties in this one too. There's like the scene where they have them locked in the room while there's the porn playing on that giant screen in the background, and the dude's like, it appears very much to be real porn. The guy's like squeezing the titty and like licking the nipple and stuff like that, and it's like, well, okay, they did put some dirty stuff in there, and I just forget that it had that much in it. And of course, there was that porn star that was like tits out for a minute in Andy's little fantasy. But what I will say is that this is a beloved film. The 40-Year-Old Virgin is a beloved film. This is a millennial classic. This movie, from the time I saw it, it was destined to be, and it is now. I mean, it was destined in 2005. It is now, and I think it will continue to be, one of the best regarded comedies of the aughts of that decade. So we look back on it, I think, as one of the highlights of the 2000s, that first decade of the century, in the way that we look back at Caddyshack as maybe one of the penultimate comedies of the 70s, being one of the greatest comedies of the 70s. I think this film has a reputation now of kind of being that for our current generation, guys my age who are old enough to have gone to see this in the theaters. Brian from The Last Movie Standing, as well as Chase from AV Pop Culture, you guys know those are two of my boys. I love those guys. I would take a bullet for those guys. They have both derided how this 4K looks. They were not impressed. I shouldn't say that they weren't overtly negative. I shouldn't say that, but I don't think either one were very impressed by the 4K of this one. And I will be a little bit of a voice of dissent. I mean, they called it flat and lifeless. I can see why they said that. I don't have a tremendous dissent. I don't vehemently disagree with them, but also I don't feel like I had as strong a response to the image quality as they did. Like, I thought it was fine. It was fine. It was maybe not impressive in the sense that, like, Dirty Work actually was really freaking impressive for a 90s comedy, late 90s comedy. In 4K, it looked incredible. This did not. I mean, no one's going to tell you this looked incredible. I'm not going to tell you this looked incredible. I found it to be fairly average. It was about as good as Kino's 4K for Billy Madison, in my opinion. Maybe a small step down from Billy Madison, but about on that level of like a mid-effort. You can tell that, you know, it's okay. It's a step up from my DVD. I never owned the Blu-ray, so it's a step up from my DVD, and for that I appreciate it. I only paid $25 for this. I got the Steelbook from Groove. I had a coupon, but this was like $24 and change after shipping. I think I got free shipping for $24, less than $25 for a brand new 4K. This isn't like I waited a year for it to go on discount or anything. I got this thing on a pre-order. I got this thing like the day of release or a day later, 2 days later. I got this thing at release date, basically, for $25 for a 4K Steelbook, and I think that's a really great deal. This also has special features. So for the price I paid, I'm not necessarily upset about the 4K transfer. I think Brian had a better point that if you paid about $40 for this, you might be a little bit more upset that it doesn't look as good as some other $40 transfers. For a $24 transfer, I mean, for a $24 movie, I mean, this can be a $24 transfer, and I'm going to be happy enough for it. I also love the Steelbook. It's a great Steelbook. I'm really glad they did a Steelbook for this one. The standard edition art is the same as the DVD. So I feel like they recycled the artwork for that, and I can't imagine getting the slipped version, because it's just the same thing that I've got on the shelf over there in DVD. At least this has some novel artwork. I like that. It has a very retro feel to the way it's composed, the artwork on the cover, and then of course it's got all your favorite characters on the cover here. It's hard to look at their faces and not like think of the funny things in this movie. It has some of the best lines of dialogue. I mean, this movie has some really brilliant shit, like when Steve Carell is riding his bike to work the next day and he's like, I may be a virgin, but I can fuck you up. That's the kind of gold that maybe happens once in a lifetime. That's incredible. So, because I was in the mood to check out some 4Ks, I also watched half of Better Off Dead. This is the brand new 4K that just came out. I got this right around release date as well. So I watched this last week, half of this. I couldn't bring myself to watch the whole thing because, as you know, if you watched my previous video, I mean, it's an all-time favorite movie of mine, but it's also a winter-ass movie. It got released in August originally, which is unfortunate, but in 1985, they put it out in August. They decided to release it in the summer months. Therefore, when the 40th anniversary rolls around, they released the 4K Blu-ray in August, which makes no sense because this is a winter-ass movie. There's a lot of skiing, there's snow falling, there's a Christmas Eve scene, a Christmas scene, a New Year's Eve scene. This whole movie is taking place over the course of the very late fall and the winter. And so watching this in August is completely and totally inappropriate and forbidden. But I did have to pop it in. I wanted to see what the special features looked like. Spoiler alert, there are none. That, I could do a whole video on my upset for that, but I don't think anybody wants to hear 35 minutes of me complaining about Better Off Dead being criminally underserved in the special features regard. But I also wanted to kind of see how the 4K looked again. Coming hot off the heels of Brian and Chase's comments on 40-Year-Old Virgin, I wanted to see, you know, there's a lot of comedies that are coming to 4K here in 2025, a lot that have, and a lot more that are coming to 4K. So I wanted to check it out. I wanted to see what it looked like and see how it compared maybe to 40-Year-Old Virgin. I think it looks a little bit better than 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's not as impressive as Dirty Work. I think Dirty Work is kind of going to be the gold standard for the time being for comedies, at least. That style of comedies on 4K. I think it's going to be the gold standard to which everything else is compared, and stuff is not going to look great. But I watched about half of Better Off Dead. I turned it off. I'm gonna rewatch it during my Christmas vacation, like I always do with a time off around Christmas time. That's when I like to watch Better Off Dead. I was originally given Better Off Dead on VHS in the mid-90s. I think it was Christmas '95 as a gift from my parents. It was a Christmas gift from my parents, 1995. So when I first watched it, the very first time I ever watched Better Off Dead was like that period after Christmas where, you know, you're off. You're not really doing much. You're not going to school, activities. There's less activities because stuff is, you know, it's not like you're going to practices and stuff. It's the holidays. Everything's kind of off. Everything's running a little bit slower, at least during that period of your life. It's that like wonderful, like lazy sort of you ain't got shit to worry about, and you can kind of curl up. Like you could watch a little bit of more movies during that week. And so just for nostalgic purposes and the fact that this is a winter-ass movie, I only watch this right around that time when I'm off work, and I'll feel a little bit less guilty about watching a movie in the middle of the day or curling up. That's a film, Better Off Dead is one that I'm really looking forward to showing my kids as well. I just wish they would license it out to a boutique that would be able to like load it down with special features. It's really a shame that Paramount and CBS just refused to license it out. There's some other comedies that have been licensed out. I mean, Breakfast Club, Criterion has Breakfast Club. I think Arrow has 16 Candles. I mean, there's a lot of kind of 80s era comedies that have been licensed out to boutiques and received a much better special features treatment than Better Off Dead did. On the other hand, I think I paid like $21 for Better Off Dead. Again, it's another one of those cheaper, less expensive 4Ks. We live in a world where it feels like every other YouTube video is complaining about $40 4Ks and $50 4K Steelbooks, and Tombstone was $55 and Deadpool and Wolverine was $65 for a 4K Steelbook. So yes, you could focus on the pricing of some of the more premium prestige products, but then you can also look at something like Better Off Dead and 40-Year-Old Virgin, and yeah, they're catalog movies that are getting a re-release in an updated format, but they're also, you know, when they cost $20, $22 for brand new 4Ks that, in my opinion, don't look bad. Even if they don't look phenomenal, they don't look bad, in my opinion. One thing about Better Off Dead that is amazing to me is how much people sleep on the tremendous banger that is One Way Love by E.G. Daily, a.k.a. Elizabeth Daily. she even performs it in Better Off Dead. She performs that New Year's Eve dance scene. So you get that, like, the whole 80s everything. Like, she's 80s head to toe, the hair, the makeup, the outfit. It's like 100% as 80s as 80s could be. And it was made in 1985. I got to say, they did a very good job of anticipating kind of what the zeitgeist would be in the decades to come. When we look back on the 80s, the picture that comes into our head is E.G. Daily in that dance scene. And on top of the fact that this song was made for the movie, but it is a damn good song, like, existing outside of the movie. Like, I will play this song on any 80s playlist. I love One Way Love. It is a great song. I mean, it's not just a good song for the film because it contains the lyrics Better Off Dead. It is just an awesome song. It's just a great song to put on. Anytime you want that kind of bright 80s pop with a little synthetic, you know, keyboard in the background, anytime you want that level of, like, toe-tapping 80s pop, I think you cannot go wrong with One Way Love. It's really a shame that that the culture seems to have slept largely on that, because there's a lot of 80s music that gets a lot of play on these, like, Friday Night 80s retrospective radio stations and stuff that I don't think deserve it near as much as One Way Love does. That's a shame. But anyway, watching part of Better Off Dead made me want to immediately put in One Crazy Summer, so that's what I did. One Crazy Summer is also a Savage Steve Holland film, just like Better Off Dead, and both of them star John Cusack, so they have a very similar vibe. One Crazy Summer is obviously, that's one that you can watch during the summer months, June, July, August, and then Better Off Dead is a winter-ass movie, so you can watch that one around November, December, January, and you've got kind of both seasons covered by some nice nostalgic films. Now, One Crazy Summer, because of the similarity in vibe, it actually feels almost like a spiritual sequel to Better Off Dead. It's not. It's different characters, different backdrops, etc. But with the continuity of writer, director, and primary star, it does have a very similar feel. It's got that same, like, madcap energy of Better Off Dead. Really kind of very absurd storyline elements, very absurd. Some of the gags and some of the visual gags are very absurd in both Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer. But there's also, like, this kind of earnest nature to the film, especially with the romantic plots. Like, there's this very, like, earnest kind of almost sentimental approach to the romantic plots and, like, the interpersonal relationships, the characters. And so as charismatic as the characters are, it really makes, like, the madcap and almost absurd stuff and really some of the silly sight gags work. Like, the gag in One Crazy Summer that always just seemed the dumbest to me was when the girl slaps those kids on the back when they're making the faces, and their faces stick like that. They just look like demented Cabbage Patch dolls because their eyes are weird and their nose are stuck up like this, and their faces freeze like that, and they start screaming and running around. And they show up later in the movie, and everybody on the boat sees them and starts screaming and running off. And it's really a stupid kind of silly gag, but I think it's well sold in these films. I think it's well packaged and well sold. The balance of, like, the characters and interpersonal drama and the lightness and just nostalgia of it, I think, makes it work in a way that, like, if you describe that gag to me sight unseen, I'd never seen it before, I probably would tell you to fuck off, that's a really stupid gag. But it works here, I think, just because of the overall effort, I think, on One Crazy Summer really makes that work. And One Crazy Summer is, like, one of my comfort movies, probably one of the big comfort movies for the summer for me. And it's one, like Better Off Dead, I can't wait till my daughters are a little bit older so I can show it to them, so they got a little bit less of the K-pop Demon Hunter energy, and maybe they're ready for a little bit of that, like, kind of madcap, and they might get the romantic comedy a little bit too, and that might be enough to kind of keep them invested. I'm really looking forward to sharing these with the rest of my family. I found One Crazy Summer a bit later. Unfortunately, I found One Crazy Summer like 2002-ish, somewhere in that area, because, you know, internet and DVD was huge, and so all this old stuff was coming out on DVD, and you could get online and you could Google Better Off Dead and you could find out who the writer and director was and what else they had done, and then you could order the DVDs pretty easily. So it was around that era that just ease of discovery became possible. So I found One Crazy Summer a little bit later, so I don't quite have the same, it doesn't occupy quite the same space in my heart that Better Off Dead does. Better Off Dead just got there first, but I still love One Crazy Summer. It's still a staple film for me to watch over the summer, and one day make my kids watch too, like sit them down for some forced family viewing. Of course, as it is mid-August, or it was last week when I was doing all the watching, I had to watch A Wet Hot American Summer. This is a mid-August film. Wet Hot American Summer specifically takes place on August the 18th, 1981. So as far as I'm concerned, you really have to be watching this movie in mid-August. I mean, you don't have to watch it on the 18th. You've got, I'll give you a week, maybe two, on either end of August the 18th to get this one in. But as such, I think it's really one of the few movies that nails, like really nails that end of summer vibe. I mean, there might be a few more. You guys feel free to let me know. But it's really one of the only films that I can think of just off the top of my head without doing some research that kind of hits that end of summer vibe for me pretty perfectly. And this is definitely one of my top, maybe my top 3 comfort movies of all time. Wet Hot American Summer is just that is a film that just makes me feel good just to have on the screen. Even if I'm not paying attention, just having it on in the background is enough to make me feel good. It's one I've shown to a lot of people. I haven't met a ton of people in real life that feel the same way about Wet Hot American Summer as I do, but a lot of strangers on the internet certainly seem to love it as much as I do. I first saw Wet Hot American Summer probably around 2003. I picked up the DVD on my brother's recommendation. And for me, there's so much to love about Wet Hot American Summer. I did a full-length commentary for the entire film on this channel. You can find it here on this channel. You can find it on my Patreon with the video uncovered, but you can check it out here if you want to watch my commentary and hear more about like everything I love about this movie. There's just so much. I love that it's a satire of the summer camp subgenre of summer comedies, while at the same time, it actually serves up legitimate nostalgia, at least for me. On one hand, it's like beyond silly. It's so absurd. It's an absurd movie. It's ridiculous in all that they accomplish in one day. Space lab falling from the sky, the weird telekinetic kid. They take an hour-long visit to town that progresses from eating French fries to doing heroin in a crack den. Neil, on a motorcycle, is not able to catch Victor, who's running on 2 feet. There's campers that apparently drown on Andy's watch, and then he throws their buddies out the van into the woods. I mean, it's a ridiculous movie that is very hard to take each of these things seriously. Did the camp counselors really go to town for an hour, eat French fries, drink booze, smoke weed, do cocaine, and then progress to heroin and make it back to camp an hour later looking fresh as a daisy and all clean, no track marks, no bags around their eyes or circles? To me, so much of what you see on the screen is exaggerated. And that's why it also works kind of this nostalgic thing to me. It's like that sort of rosy retrospection on steroids, right? The way we look back on times of our lives with a kind of nostalgic wistfulness. We look back on times of our lives like, man, and you think about all the great stuff. And so it brings me back to a time almost 25 years ago when I was younger. The world seemed like a better place. I was first watching Wet Hot American Summer for the very first time. And so there's this nostalgia there, but it's also set in the very early 80s. And it has this like nostalgia for this, I don't know, it's like the depiction of a camp experience that we all wanted to have, even if it's not the one that we got. Like, yeah, there were parts of summer camp that sucked. I don't really remember them very well. I think back on my summer camp experiences and it was all pretty good. That's sort of like the nostalgic mechanism for Wet Hot American Summer, I think. It's just a wild depiction that you can't take seriously, that is ridiculous and stupid, but also like, wouldn't that have been fun? This is another film that's incredibly quotable, especially in non sequitur, when people don't necessarily know that I'm quoting a movie. I love like leaning forward and getting kind of serious. I'm like, I look at somebody like, I look all serious at them and shit, and I'm like, lean in. They think I'm about to say something like profound, and I'm all like, I never told anybody this before, but I can suck my own dick, and I do it a lot, you know, and nobody knows what to say to me after that, which is great. I also made my mom watch Wet Hot American Summer with me. I told you she was in town. I made her, and actually my wife watched it with us too. And I forgot about the gay sex scene when I showed this to my mom. I forgot that that McKinley and Ben get it on in a very sensual way, but that's fine. Like I said, we're a weird family. Grand Jan can handle watching McKinley fuck Ben for a minute or two, and she can listen to the can of veggies talk about sucking his own dick. All of that is fine. So, you know. Anyway, it may not be much, but that's what I watched this week. I've also got other stuff going on in my life. I'm sorry, I got 2 young kids. I had to watch K-pop Demon Hunters 6 times. You know, so I managed to squeeze these 5 in. But what did you fuckers watch? Did anybody watch any of the same shit as me? I hope so, at least in the case of Wet Hot American Summer, because you don't have much longer to get that one in. Can anybody think of any movies like Wet Hot American Summer that have that like perfect end of summer vibe? I'm definitely taking suggestions at this period in time. If you've got a great like end of summer vibe in a movie, hit me with that nostalgic shit. This is the time of year. This is one of the times of year that I feel most nostalgic. I feel that crest of nostalgia riding high within me because this is a time of year for transitioning kind of away from summer and into the school year, back to reality, and you know, just watching my kids get older. My kid just turned 6, and I shouldn't talk about that. That'll get me emotional here on the channel, which I don't want to do. I'm trying to seem cool. Anyway, I'm gonna finish drinking this terrible thing, thanks to my patrons right here. So you guys are awesome. Keep up the good work. I love you very much. Deuces, everybody. Ah, oof.